In the vast silence of deep space, the Galactic Concord watched many worlds with cold interest. Their hunters ruled every corner of known space. No creature ever escaped their skill. Their guild, called the Apex Concord, gathered the finest killers from every strong species. Each hunter wore armor that bent light, and weapons that burned through steel. They took trophies from dying beasts and dying worlds alike. For thousands of years, they held the title of Galaxy's elite. No one questioned their power. One quiet day, the guildmasters met in their shining hall on the crystal moon of Vexar. They grew bored with easy hunts. They wanted fresh challenge. They searched their long lists of planets and stopped at one small blue world near the edge. Earth, they read. Humans lived there. Short lives, soft bodies. No claws, no venom, no natural armor. The masters laughed loud. The Death World label amused them. They saw forests and oceans and mountains, but no real threat. A primitive place. Perfect for. The decision came fast. The culling trial would happen on Earth. Rules stayed simple. Land on the planet, hunt the apex predator, bring back its head or pelt or bones as proof. Win, and the galaxy cheers. Lose, and shame follows. No one ever lost before. The guild chose 20 of their very best for the first wave. Each came from a different deadly species. A saurian with scales like black iron, an insectoid whose eyes saw every heat signature, a pack hunter from the fog plains whose nose smelled fear miles away. All carried the finest tools, cloaks that hid them completely, lances that fired plasma bolts, trackers that locked on any heartbeat. They boarded sleek black ships and jumped through folds in space. Earth received no warning. The first landers touched down in thick jungles and frozen tundras and empty deserts. No alarms sounded, no armies marched. The hunters stepped out silent and sure. They spread across the planet in small teams. They expected quick sport, blood, and glory. They broadcast one short message to every government on Earth. We come to hunt your champion. Send your best or watch your world become our preserve. The words echoed through quiet rooms and busy streets. Leaders stared at screens. Some whispered, some shouted. Most stayed calm. Days passed. The hunters moved deeper into wild places. They tracked large animals. They found bears and tigers and crocodiles. They killed a few for practice. Their weapons made clean work. No chase needed. No fight lasted long. They grew restless. Where was the challenge? Where was the human champion? They waited for resistance. Nothing came. The silence felt wrong. Then reports started. One hunter vanished in the Canadian North. His vital signs flatlined on guild screens. No body found. No sign of struggle. Another disappeared in the Amazon. His cloak signal blinked out mid-step. A third fell silent in the Siberian snow. His last transmission showed only trees and wind. 17 hunters gone in less than a month. Weak. The guild masters stopped laughing. They gathered again. Faces grew hard. They felt insult. No prey ever did this. No world ever fought back like this. They decided to send more. 20 new legends arrived. Each one carried a name, feared across systems. They brought heavier weapons, smarter drones, stronger armor. They landed in secret places. They ignored governments. They ignored cities. They went straight to the wild zones where their brothers vanished. This time they spoke louder. Their message repeated on every channel. We return stronger. We will not leave without victory. Send your champion now, or face total claim on this world. Earth listened again. Leaders met in hidden rooms. They spoke in low voices. They weighed options. They knew fleets would lose. They knew armies would die. They chose something different. One name appeared on the return signal. No ships, no soldiers, just one word. Mara. The guildmasters read the name and frowned. Who was this, Mara? Was it a title? A joke? A mistake? Scanned records. Lieutenant Mara Voss, age 34, former Special Forces, now listed as Wilderness Reclamation Specialist. No medals shown, no fame listed, just a quiet file. They laughed again. One human female against their finest. Impossible. They opened channels to mock her. Come out, little prey, we wait for sport. Mara heard the words. She sat alone in a small cabin, far north. Snow fell outside. She drank black coffee from a metal cup. She read old maps drawn by hand. She checked her gear. One long rifle with suppressor, one monofilament knife, one small pack with basic supplies, rope, wire, traps, dried food, flint. Nothing fancy, nothing advanced. She wore plain tactical clothes, faded from years of use. She looked at the falling snow for a long moment. Then she stood. She walked outside into the cold wind. She did not speak. She did not hurry. She simply started walking toward the forest where the first hunters died. High above, guild ships watched. They saw one small figure move across white ground. They zoomed cameras. They saw no army, no backup, just her. They sent scouts to follow. They activated every sensor. They waited for the easy kill. They felt certain victory would come fast. Mara kept walking. She moved slow and steady. She stepped over logs. She crossed small streams. She left faint tracks on purpose. She snapped one branch here. She dropped one ration wrapper there. She wanted them to see. She wanted them to come. She knew they watched. She knew they hunted. She also knew something they did not. Humans did not hunt just to win. Humans hunted to live. Another difference, another edge. The elite hunters split into teams. They cloaked themselves. They moved like ghosts. They closed distance. They felt excitement. This time they would end it quick. They followed her sign. They smiled under helmets. They fought prey walked into trap. They did not know the trap walked on two legs and carried no fear. Night fell. Stars appeared. Mara stopped near a frozen river. She built no fire. Cold food. She sat against a tree. She listened to wind. She listened to silence. She waited. The hunters drew closer. They saw her heat shape on scopes. They aimed weapons. They prepared the strike. They whispered victory in alien tongues. Mara lifted her head. She looked straight at nothing. She smiled small and private. She stood. She walked again, into deeper trees, into darker night. The hunt had begun, not their hunt, hers. The galaxy watched, one small woman against 20 legends, one human against the elite of stars. No one knew yet how deep the difference ran. No one knew yet that Earth sent her not to fight, but to remind. No one knew yet that she would hunt them all. Mara Voss walked into the forest without looking back. Snow crunched under her boots. Wind moved through tall pines and made soft sounds. She carried her rifle across her back like an old friend. The pack on her shoulders held only what she needed. No extra weight, no fancy tools. She knew this land from years spent alone here. She knew every ridge, every stream, every place where ground turned soft or hard. She moved slow on purpose. She wanted the hunters to find her trail easy. High above in their black ships, the guild masters watched screens. One small heat shape moved through white trees. 20 elite hunters already on ground. They cloaked themselves, their suits bent light until they looked like empty air. Their steps made no sound. Their weapons stayed ready. They split into 5 teams of 4. Each team took a different path to close the circle around her. They felt sure. Numbers favored them. Tech favored them. Experience favored them. One human could not last long. Followed her footprints. They saw the small dents in snow where her boots pressed. They saw one broken twig hanging low. They saw the wrapper she dropped on purpose. The leader of that team was Krell, a tall saurian with black scales and eyes like burning coal. He carried a plasma lance that could cut stone. He signaled his team to spread out. They moved faster now. They closed distance. They thought the end came soon. Mara kept walking. She did not run. She did not hide. She crossed a small frozen creek. She stepped on thin ice that cracked loud. She wanted them to hear. She reached the other side and climbed a low hill. She stopped behind a thick tree. She knelt. She opened her pack. She took out wire and a small metal stake. She worked fast. She set a simple snare low to ground. She covered it with snow. She moved on. She left more sign. A footprint here, a scuff there. She led them deeper. Krell found the snare first. His foot caught the wire. It pulled tight. His leg jerked up. He fell hard. Fired wild into trees. Plasma burned branches black. His team rushed to help. One stepped on another hidden wire. It snapped. A heavy log swung down from above. It hit the second hunter in chest. Armor cracked. Bones broke. The hunter dropped without sound. Krell roared. He cut the wire with his claws. He stood again. He scanned for her. Nothing. He saw only trees and snow. His vital signs spiked on guild screens. Mara heard the crash. She did not smile. She did not stop. She kept moving. She knew they would follow anger now. She knew anger made mistakes. She led them toward thicker woods, where pines grew close, where light barely reached ground. She walked through low brush. She let branches catch her coat. She left threads behind. She wanted them to track scent and sight. She wanted them busy while she worked. The second team joined the hunt. They came from the east, a trio of fog plain stalkers, with long noses and pale fur. They smelled her miles away, her sweat, her coffee breath, her metal gear. Moved, silent. They flanked her path. They thought to cut her off. They did not know she expected that. She turned sharp right. She headed for a narrow ravine. She knew this place. Water ran fast here, even in winter. Ice formed thin over deep holes. She stepped careful. She crossed on a fallen log. She reached the far side. She waited in shadows. The stalkers followed. They trusted their noses. They stepped on the log. One by one, they reached middle. The log shifted. It rolled slow. Ice cracked loud. Water rushed up. Cold bit through armor. They fell. They fought current. Strong swimmers, but heavy gear pulled them down. One grabbed a root. It broke. Another tried to climb bank. Ice gave way. They vanished under white foam. Their signals flatlined fast. Guild ships saw 3 more markers turn black. Masters hissed in anger. They ordered the rest to tighten the net. No more games. No more play. They wanted her head now. Mara climbed out of the ravine. She moved uphill. She breathed steady. Little, she ignored it. She reached a high ridge. She looked down. She saw movement in trees. Cloaks flickered when they moved fast. She counted 8 hunters closing in. She nodded once to herself. She took her rifle. She checked the magazine. 5 rounds left. She screwed on the suppressor. She lay flat on snow. She waited. A hunter appeared below. He scanned up. He did not see her. His cloak held perfect against rocks. His eyes missed the small mound of snow that was her. She aimed careful, breath slow, trigger soft. The shot whispered. The hunter dropped. His cloak failed. Light bent wrong. His body lay still. The others froze. They searched. They fired wild. Plasma lit the dark. Rounds hit trees. Rounds hit rock. No hit on her. Mara rolled left. She slid down slope. She reached thicker cover. She stood. She ran low. She zigzagged between trunks. She made them chase. She made them shoot. She made them waste power. Their weapons heated. Their batteries drained. She led them into wind. Carried snow. Wind hid her tracks. Wind stung their eyes. Night grew deeper. Cold bit harder. Mara stopped in a small clearing. She built no fire. She ate dry meat from her pack. She drank water from snow. She listened. She heard steps far off. She heard low voices in alien speech. She heard frustration. She knew they tired. Their species hunted in bursts not long. They chased prey that ran short and died fast. Humans chased prey that ran far and lived long. Different rules, different game. She stood, she walked again. She left clear path this time. She wanted them close, she wanted them angry. She wanted them blind to traps. She led them toward old mine shafts. She knew these holes from maps. She knew weak ground. She knew places where earth swallowed things whole. She stepped light. She crossed one hidden pit. She marked it in mind. She kept going. The hunters followed close now. 8 left. They grouped tight. They thought strength in numbers. They thought she ran out of tricks. They thought wrong. Mara reached the mine edge. She stopped. She turned. She faced them. She raised her rifle. She fired once into air. The sound echoed loud. They charged. They thought easy kill. She stepped back. She vanished into dark. They rushed after. They stepped on soft ground. Ground gave way. One fell screaming into black. Another grabbed edge. It crumbled. More fell. Dust rose. Snow fell in. They tumbled down shafts. Old timber snapped. Bodies hit rock. Signals died fast. Mara watched from side. She saw dust settle. She saw no movement. She checked her pack. She had wire left. She had knife. She had rounds. She had time. She walked away from the hole. She headed deeper into night. She knew more waited. She knew the hunt continued. She knew she still led. Above the ships the masters stared at empty screens. 8 gone in one night. 12 remained. They no longer laughed. They no longer mocked. They felt something new, something cold, something like fear. They watched one small figure move through dark forest. Wondered what kind of prey fought back like this. They wondered what earth hid in one woman. They wondered if they chose wrong world after all. Mara kept walking. Snow fell thicker. She pulled hood low. She checked her map by faint starlight. She planned next move. She planned next trap. She planned to hunt them all. She felt no pride. She felt no hate. She felt only the old rhythm. The rhythm humans knew best. Survive, hunt, endure, win. The forest swallowed her again. The night grew quiet. The hunt went on. The first reversals. Alara Voss moved through the thick trees like a shadow that belonged there. She wore clothes the color of wet bark and dead leaves. Her boots made no sound on the pine needles. She had watched the hunters for 2 full days now. She knew their habits, their pride, their mistakes. The second wave had come down in 6 shuttles. 20 of the galaxy's best. They spread out fast, thinking Earth was just another easy planet. They talked on open channels in their clicking, hissing languages. They laughed at how soft humans were. They said the first 8 must have died from bad luck or wild animals. They never thought one person was already hunting them. The first to fall was a Clythar scout. His name in their tongue meant Sharp Eye. He stood almost 3 meters tall. His skin changed color to match anything around him. His phase cloak bent light so well that even thermal sights saw nothing. He moved ahead of the group to find trails. He boasted to the others that no prey ever crossed him without being seen. Saw him coming. Alara had found his path the night before. She saw how he always stepped over the same fallen log to cross a small stream. She went back and found an old bear trap half buried in moss. She dragged it to that spot. She sharpened the jaws with a file until they could cut steel. She tied thin wire around the trigger so even a light touch would snap it shut. She covered it with leaves and dirt. She waited nearby, hidden in a thicket. Sharp Eye came at dusk. He moved slow and careful. His cloak shimmered as he matched the trees. He stepped over the log. His foot came down exactly where Alara wanted. The trap closed with a loud clang. Metal teeth bit through his armored leg right above the knee. Green blood sprayed out. His cloak flickered and died as pain broke his focus. He screamed in his language, a high sharp sound that echoed through the forest. He tried to pull free, but the jaws held tight. He reached for his phase disruptor, but his hands shook too much. Ilara stepped out from the thicket. Trees. She held her rifle steady. She did not speak. She fired once. The round went through his throat. He fell forward, still caught in the trap. His body twitched once and went still. Ilara walked up close. She took his trophy belt, the one with carved bones from 50 worlds. She arranged the bones in a circle around his head. She used her knife to cut one word into his chestplate in their own sharp script. The word meant pray. She left him there for the others to find. The next morning the hunters found the body. They gathered around it in silence. Their leader, Vorak, the Apex Prime, looked at the carved word. His many eyes narrowed. He ordered tighter formation. No more lone scouts. They moved as one pack now. But Ilara was already ahead. She had marked their new path. She knew they would cross a deep ravine to reach higher ground. On the far side, she had found an old logging road with a small dam made of logs and earth. The dam held back a narrow lake full of spring rain. She spent the night cutting supports with a small saw. She weakened the structure just enough. One good push would send the water down. She hid in the rocks above the ravine and waited. A Dravek stalker led this time. His name meant Venom Fang. He was long and thin like a snake, with 6 clawed legs. His hood flared when he sensed prey. His venom could melt armor in seconds. He followed a false blood trail Ilara had made by cutting her palm and dripping red on leaves. She let the scent pull him forward. He hissed to the others that the human was wounded and slow. They all followed, eager for the kill. Venom Fang reached the ravine first. He saw the blood drops lead down the steep bank. He started down the slope. The rest came behind him. When they were all in the narrowest part, Ilara pushed the last support. The dam burst. Water roared down like a living thing. Mud and logs crashed over the hunters. The current slammed them against rocks. Venom Fang tried to climb, but the water dragged him under. His venom sacs burst, useless in the flood. The others fought to stay up, but the weight of their gear pulled them down. 3 more died there, crushed or drowned. Ilara watched from above until the water slowed. She climbed down and checked the bodies. She took data chips from their armor. She left them stacked in a pile with their own weapons pointed at each other. She carved the same word on the top one. Pray. The hunters grew angry now. Fear mixed with their rage. Vorak ordered drones sent out, small flying eyes to search the forest. The drones buzzed high, looking for heat or movement. Ilara had expected this. She had already found their landing site. She scavenged parts from the first wave's wrecked gear. She built crude EMP pulses, small but strong enough for one burst. She waited until night, when the drones flew patterns over the trees. She climbed a tall fir. She tied herself to the trunk, high up. She aimed the device when the swarm passed closest. One pulse flashed blue-white. The drones dropped like stones, sparking, smoking. The hunters lost their eyes in the sky. They shouted in confusion. Vorak smashed one fallen drone with his foot. He knew now this was no accident. Next came a Vorath Heavy. His name meant Stonebreaker. He stood 4 meters tall. His body could shift gravity around him to leap far or crush bones with a thought. He carried a massive hammer that sang when swung. He led a small group through thick old-growth forest. He bragged that no trap could hold him. Ilara had prepared this spot weeks before, when she first scouted the area. She found a clearing where loggers once worked. She dug holes and planted lengths of rebar, sharpened on one end. She covered them with dirt and needles. She made the ground look flat and safe. She added a fake trail of broken branches to draw them in. Stonebreaker came first. He laughed at the puny trees. He stepped forward to show his power. He triggered his gravity field and jumped high. He came down hard, exactly on the hidden spikes. The rebar punched through his lower legs and hips. He roared in pain. His gravity field failed. He fell forward onto more spikes. His weight drove them deeper through his chest. He struggled, but every move pushed the metal further. The others rushed to help, but Ilara had strung monofilament wire between trees at neck height. 2 hunters ran into the lines. Their heads came off clean. The rest froze. Stonebreaker died slowly, pinned like an insect. Ilara came out of the dark. She took his hammer. She left it driven into the ground beside him. She carved the word, once more, pray. 7 hunters gone now. The rest pulled back to a defensive camp. They set up energy barriers and motion sensors. They kept fires burning all night. They no longer laughed on open channels. Their voices sounded tight and quick. Ilara stayed far enough to avoid detection. She listened to their fear grow. She cleaned her rifle. She checked her remaining rounds. She sharpened her knife. She knew they would come for her soon. She was ready. The forest was her ally. Now, the hunters were no longer the top of the food chain. She had turned the tables, one careful step at a time. The game had changed, and they were the ones being hunted. 9 hunters remained after the forest took its toll. Vorak, the apex prime, gathered them in a tight circle under heavy camouflage nets. Their faces showed strain, even through alien features. Vorak stood tallest, his many limbs coiled tight with anger. He spoke low and firm. No more games, he said. They would end this now. They knew the human female was close. Her scent lingered on wind. Her traps marked the land like warnings. They would use their full strength. One massive push. One final hunt. They would drive her out, force her into open ground, and crush her under combined fire. They chose a narrow valley deep in the mountains, flanked by steep rocky walls, thick with pine. The valley floor held a dry riverbed, wide enough for their formation, but narrow enough to trap any escape. Vorak liked it. He said the walls would echo their victory shots. They moved out at first light. Energy barriers hummed around the group. Motion sensors swept left and right. Heavy weapons charged with low growls. Advanced, slow, and sure. No one spoke much. Fear had turned to cold purpose. They believed numbers and tech would win this time. Ilara had watched them plan from a high ridge. She lay flat under a fallen tree trunk. Her scope followed every move. She counted their steps. She measured the valley. She knew this place well. Years ago she trained here. She ran these slopes. She learned every rock, every hidden spring, every weak patch of earth. She spent the last 3 nights preparing. She moved only at dark. She used no light. She worked by feel and memory. First she weakened the slopes. She cut support roots with her knife. She placed small charges from scavenged alien grenades. She hid them under loose dirt. She made sure rain would loosen more. She turned streams uphill into boiling traps. She found hot springs deep under rock. She diverted water with logs and stones. She made geysers ready to burst, and she baited the animals too. She used small sonic devices stolen from dead hunters. She set them to mimic cries of wounded deer, elk, moose. She placed them in rings around the valley. She knew predators would come. Grizzlies, wolves, cougars, even a fierce wolverine pack that ruled this range. She left scent trails of blood and fear to pull them in. The hunters entered the valley mouth. Vorak led. Stonebreaker gone, but others took point. A Clythar with fresh scars walked left. A Dravex coiled low right. They spread into a wedge, weapons raised, barriers glowed faint blue. Ilara waited on the ridge above. She held a small remote. She watched them reach the center. She pressed the first button. Small explosions cracked high on both slopes. Dirt and rocks slid down in slow waves. The hunters looked up. Barriers flared as stones bounced off. Vorak shouted orders. They pushed forward faster. They thought it was just nature. They did not see the real danger yet. Halfway through the valley, the sonic lures kicked in. High, sharp cries filled the air. Wounded prey sounds bounced off walls. The forest answered. Came the wolves, a big pack, gray and silent. They poured from side trails. They hit the rear hunters fast. Teeth sank into legs. Armor held, but pain slowed movement. The hunters fired. Energy blasts lit the trees. Wolves yelped and fell, but more came. A grizzly boar charged from thick brush. He stood taller than any hunter. He roared and slammed into a Vorath. The alien triggered gravity to push back. The bear flew, but landed hard and charged again. Claws raked armor. Sparks flew. The hunter screamed as weight crushed him down. Ilara moved now. She slid down the ridge, silent as mist. She reached a hidden blind she built days before. Rocks stacked with firing slits. She aimed her rifle. She waited for clear shots. A Dravex turned toward the bear fight. She fired once. The round punched through his eye slit. He dropped, twitching. Venom leaked useless. She shifted aim. A Clythar tried to cloak. She had marked his path with reflective dust earlier. His shimmer gave him away. She fired again. Chest plate cracked. Fell forward. The hunters tightened circle now. Barriers overlapped. Vorak roared commands. They focused fire on the animals. Bodies piled, but the beasts kept coming. Cougars dropped from trees onto backs. Claws found joints. Wolves circled and darted. Ilara used the chaos. She slipped closer. She planted more charges under their feet. She triggered them in pairs. Small blasts threw hunters off balance. One landed hard. His barrier flickered. Another stumbled into a hidden pit. Stakes waited below. He screamed as metal pierced up through his body. Steam rose next. The geysers erupted. Hot water shot high. Scalding spray hit exposed skin. Barriers failed against heat. Aliens shrieked as armor softened. Flesh burned. One hunter rolled in dirt trying to cool his legs. Another clawed at his face. Vorak stood firm. His multiple arms waved. He ordered retreat back the way they came. But Ilara had closed that path. She triggered the final slope collapse. Tons of rock and mud poured down. The exit vanished, filled the air. Now only 5 hunters stood. Vorak among them. He saw her then. A lone figure on the ridge above. Blood streaked her face, but her eyes stayed calm. She held her rifle steady. Vorak pointed. He roared a challenge in his deep voice. He said, "Come down and face him like a true hunter." He said he would end her quick. Ilara did not answer with words. She raised her rifle. She aimed careful. She fired at his primary gravity node. The small device on his chest sparked and died. Vorak staggered. His lift failed. He dropped hard into a pit she had prepared earlier. The pit held bones from his own dead hunters, arranged in patterns. She had carried them there, one by one. Vorak landed among them. His limbs thrashed. He tried to climb, but the walls were steep and slick. Ilara walked to the edge. She looked down. He glared up. Hate burned in his eyes. She did not speak. She dropped one last charge. It rolled to his feet. It flashed white. Vorak vanished in smoke and rock. The last 4 hunters broke. Then they ran in different directions. Panic took them. One headed for trees. Ilara tracked him with wire traps. His legs tangled. He fell hard. She finished him quiet. A second tried open ground. She used a scavenged phase disruptor. She fired from cover. His body split clean. The third climbed a rock face. She waited below. She cut the line he used to pull himself up. He fell screaming. The fourth stood alone in the center. He dropped his weapon. He raised empty hands. He spoke through translator. "Please," he said, "we yield." Ilara stepped out. She looked at him long. She shook her head once. She fired. The hunter fell without sound. Silence returned to the valley. Smoke drifted. Animals retreated with full bellies. Bodies lay scattered. Weapons cooled in dirt. Ilara walked through the wreckage. She checked each one. She took data cores. She gathered trophy racks. She piled them neat. She stood over Vorak's pit. She carved the word one last time. Pray. She looked up at the sky. She knew ships waited above. This was not over yet. But for now, the hunters were broken. The valley belonged to her. The hunt had turned completely. The hunt ends. Dawn came slow over the valley. Light filtered through smoke and broken trees. Birds stayed quiet, as if they knew death still walked below. Ilara Voss moved careful among the bodies. She stepped over twisted metal and charred armor. She checked each hunter twice to make sure none breathed. She found Vorak last, his massive form half buried under rock and dirt. His many eyes stared blank at the sky. Green blood pooled thick around him. She knelt close. She searched his armor. She pulled out the main data core, a small black crystal that held every record of their hunt. She slipped it into her pocket. She took the guild emblem from his chest, a sharp metal star with teeth marks carved in it. She added it to the growing pile of trophies. She worked steady. She gathered all the data cores she could find, some cracked, some still warm. She stacked them neat beside the trophy racks, racks full of bones, horns, claws, teeth, from worlds she never saw. Each piece told a story of easy kills, of planets stripped bare. She looked at them long. She felt no joy, only cold satisfaction. She used her knife again. She carved the word pray into the biggest rack, deep enough to last. She arranged the bodies in a wide circle, heads toward the center, weapons crossed over chests like a final salute. She left no mess. She made it clear this was no random slaughter. This was a message. She climbed a tall rock at the valley edge. She sat and waited. She pulled out a small transmitter, scavenged from the first wave. She connected the data cores one by one. She downloaded their logs. She copied images of dead hunters. She added her own short recording, voice calm, no anger. She spoke into the device. Earth's entry to the hunt registry is withdrawn. Your elite are accounted for. Next time you send hunters, remember, we don't just survive death worlds. We are the reason they are feared. She ended the message. She keyed the encryption. She aimed the transmitter at the sky. She sent it on the guild frequency. She knew. Their relay ship still orbited. She knew they listened. Minutes passed, quiet. Then the sky answered. No voice came back. Only silence. She watched the clouds. No shuttles dropped. No weapons fired. She stood up. She scanned the horizon. She saw faint trails of exhaust high above, ships turning away. Slow at first, then faster. They left without a fight. The guild fleet broke formation. They retreated. They ran. She lowered the transmitter. She felt the weight lift a little, not all, but enough. She walked back through the valley. She collected her own gear. Her rifle needed cleaning. Her knife needed sharpening. Her clothes hung in strips from claws and thorns. She ignored the pain. Cuts burned, but she knew how to walk through it. She found a small stream. She washed blood from her hands, face, arms. She drank deep. The water tasted clean and cold. She sat on a flat stone. She looked at the sun climbing higher. She thought of home. Not the cabin in the woods, but the bigger home, the blue planet below, mountain, every ocean, every person who never knew her name, but lived because she came here alone. She stood. She started the long trek out. She moved slow. She picked paths animals used. She avoided open ground. She knew search teams would come later, humans this time, not hunters. She carried proof heavy in her pack, data cores, trophies, recordings. She would hand them over. She would answer questions. She would disappear again, back to quiet life, back to waiting. She knew the galaxy watched now. Word would spread fast. One human female took 20 elite and left none alive. Ships would tell captains, captains would tell councils, Councils would whisper to traders. Traders would carry tales to every starport. Predators would check shadows twice. They would speak her name, or try to. They would call her Ghost, or Reaper, or End. She did not care for names. She cared only that they remembered. Days later, in a hidden bunker under northern ice, governments met in secret rooms. They played the recordings, studied the data cores. They looked at images of posed bodies. They listened to her message. Faces stayed hard. Some smiled, small. Some nodded. They voted quiet. They pulled Earth from every aggressive list. They sent polite warnings to old enemies. They built new defenses just in case. They knew one woman won this round, but the galaxy held many rounds. They prepared, they waited. Ilara reached her drop point, an old logging road overgrown with weeds. A stealth craft waited, black and silent. No lights, no sound. She climbed in. She sat in the back. She closed her eyes as engines hummed low. The craft lifted smooth. It climbed through clouds. It broke into black space. She looked out at stars. She saw no pursuit. She saw only endless dark. She leaned back. She let exhaustion come. She slept deep for the first time in weeks. Back on Earth, news stayed small. No big headlines, no parades. Just quiet files marked classified. People who needed to know were told. They nodded. They filed reports. They went home to. Families, they hugged children tighter some nights. They looked at the sky different now, not afraid exactly, but aware. Far across systems, guild halls stood empty chairs, where 20 once sat, now dust gathered. Vorak's banner hung torn. Hunters who survived other hunts spoke less, they drank more. They checked weapons twice. They told young ones, stay away from that blue world. They said one came alone. She hunted us. She won. They said her name in low voices. Ilara. They said it like a curse, like a prayer. Years passed, the story grew. Some called it legend, some called it warning. Ships avoided Earth routes. Traders charged extra to land. Diplomats spoke careful words. Alliances shifted. Quiet humanity grew stronger. Not loud, not with fleets, but with knowledge. One woman showed what waited, if pushed too far. Ilara lived simple again. Deep woods, small cabin, rifle by the door. She hunted deer. She fished streams. She watched seasons change. She trained alone. She kept skill sharp. She waited. Knew the galaxy never forgot. She knew pride returned slow. She knew someday another hunt might come. She kept her edge. She kept watch. One evening she sat outside. Fire crackled low. She cleaned her rifle slow and careful. She looked up. Stars bright. No ships. No threats. Only quiet. She smiled small. She spoke soft to the night. Come if you want, she said. I'm still here. She finished the rifle. She set it down. She leaned back. She closed her eyes. She listened to wind in trees. She felt peace. Not forever, but for now. Humanity did not need to conquer stars. It just needed to remind everyone who the real apex was. One woman at a time, one hunt at a time, one message carved in blood and bone. The galaxy learned slow, but it learned. Earth waited patient, ready, always ready.